everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady here with my weekly garden tour update. But today is super special because I have one of my plant nerd friends here. Meet my good friend Preston Montague, who is a landscape architect. Preston, introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Preston Montague. I spend my time between landscape architecture and arts and enjoying the garden. And I'm so excited to walk through the garden with you this week with Bree.
All right, well, let's hop onto it because you know what's blooming?
Ooh, what's that?
The poppies.
Yes. Let's have a look.
Okay, Preston, so is this cottage core?
Cottage core, absolutely. I mean, I love the variety and the texture of these fine-leaved plants and these small flowers. In fact, what is this flower in blue, Bree?
So this is Centuria, known as bachelor button or cornflower.
Do I see that on the roadsides growing?
Occasionally, but I think it's more predominant in Europe. I think the other cornflower that you are referring to is a plant whose name I can't remember right now.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
It'll come out like botanical Tourette's.
No, I
that's what happens at midnight tonight.
When all the freeways get free again. I got it. Well, I love the addition. So you have different color bachelor buttons mixed in, but then you also have these wild poppies that are these just kind of like just juicy purples and like really rich pinks interspersed in that sea of cool. It's almost like something lifting out of kind of like a beautiful quiet softness. The poppies sing so loudly. What kind of poppy is that?
So this is Papaver somniferum, politically correctly called the breadseed poppy.
I see.
And I had intended on the poppies being more throughout. I'm actually really surprised by the almost overpoweringness of the Centuria. I was very heavy-handed in my seed sowing.
Oh.
And actually, you can see here all winter long, I said on YouTube videos, it'll be fine, the survival of the fittest. But I have big areas where I should have thinned because you see the plant performance is so much less because of being too crowded.
And is that because the plants are competing for nutrients and water, and there's just a point where they're so close and so tightly packed that they impact one another to this degree?
And light.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, I've learned my lesson. There would have been nothing wrong with me doing a little thinning.
So what you're trying to do is get in kind of like an even height between the bachelor buttons and the poppies.
Absolutely. Yeah, I envisioned this to read a little more organized than it does.
But this is small, typically, isn't it?
Yes.
For this time of year. And this one's kind of a little bit more typical, but you have some that are much, much larger and better developed.
Yeah, the self-sown varieties that got room to spread out are by far the happiest poppies. So Preston, I've been giving this property border bed some love.
Yeah, I see that you've really taken out some of the shrubs and allowed some of the forbs and I guess grasses that kind of they elbow their way into a space and they really fill a space. You've really allowed them, like phlox, bright eyes. What else am I seeing here? I see some sedum.
Lespedeza leucoiensis. Yeah, my goal is to make it so this is the last time that I have to mulch this bed. I'm aiming for ground plane coverage. Although I will say, this only took like maybe a half a yard. So it's not a terrible chore. It only took me like maybe half an hour last night.
Well, this is something that I do in my practice when I have beds in the back where people can't really get to, but you don't want to have, it's not a screening procedure. What I like to do is just have forbs like Monarda, the bee balm, or Pycnanthemum, the mountain mint, some of the phloxes, certainly New England aster. These are forbs I use in my practice because they spread so quickly and so widely and so reliably.
Well, all of those are here.
All right.
So we've got all that phlox there, and here we have a Monarda. I think this is fistulosum.
Yeah. Wow, look at that serrated edge. They're so beautiful.
And then in the middle here, I planted a whole bunch of Pycnanthemum nudicum. And if you'll see, I actually seeded buckwheat, and it's germinating. And I know you're a buckwheat fan.
Yes, that's one of my favorite, kind of like warm season green mulches. It's well behaved. It doesn't really come back and seed around too much if I don't want it to. And it's just a great kind of green curtain for the rest of my plant choices.
Well, there's aster, there's more phlox. The phlox just like really does its job.
Yeah.
And you know, this lichtness, even though it's kind of a biennial, it's also been really good for ground plane coverage.
And one thing I like about using plants like this as a green mulch, as almost a replacement for shrubs, is that they come back a little bit different shape every year, and they kind of have a dance where one year the Pycnanthemum might be really strong, and then for whatever reason the next year the phlox takes over a bit, and you can really feel ecology in action as different plants form a community and just kind of sort it out amongst themselves who's going to occupy the square footage. And talking about pollinator interest, wow.
So Preston, I'm developing a shade problem,
Okay.
and I want your advice on what to do.
Yeah, it's so funny. We plant these trees and these large shrubs and seek shade, but once we have it, it begets other problems. It's just like, well, what do you do around it? How do you get around the influence of shade when it kind of slows the processes around it down?
That's exactly what I'm experiencing 10 years in with these Prunus mumes, which I adore in the winter. I'm a little aggravated with them because they set so much fruit this year. Preston's just noting that. You see, it's totally not the kind of apricot you buy from the grocery store. It is edible, and I will do an edible experiment with it. But I've been thinking about doing some pruning on this, like to remove some big biomass and...
Yeah, and that's something that's really best done with a friend, because when you're too emotionally attached to the tree, sometimes it's challenging to make like good critical decisions. And so, you know, we had a good discussion about, well, what should come out and where do you actually want to, how does that impact the canopy, and what other rooms can we make by taking out different limbs. And I think we've decided that this lower limb that's reaching out and bringing the canopy way to the other side of this bed is just too much, and it's not really contributing to the part of the Prunus mume we like the most, which is the bloom, which we see from that direction. So we're just taking the back out to allow more light in to continue to fill this volume, which is empty, and just a path, which may not be necessary because it's just become, well, too dark to grow anything other than just the occasional shade shrub. But we want something with more vigor and more life in this spot. And so looking up into it, we also noticed this like, almost like divided into three. Yeah, one, 2, 3, and decided to snip the middle out and keep that Y shape, which will reduce the weight of the canopy and maintain a good, strong, healthy divide so that we won't have any limbs break, but also really take a lot of volume out of that canopy and let light in and just remove limbs that you wouldn't enjoy from the porch when they're blooming anyways.
I'm almost ready to bring out a saw. I think this is a chainsaw venture.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think I need to do this with a handsaw.
No, it needs to be done with friends.
Yes, this is a group activity.
Yeah. But I guess once you do, suddenly you have a brand new room, and then it completely affects all of the other trees around it, all of the shrubs already underneath it.
Which, you know, I plant trees and shrubs like they're annuals. I know that's not appropriate. I've confessed that a million times on YouTube videos. But in my defense, one of these trees I didn't plant, and that's this this peach. And it's actually growing out of my compost pile. And it's like the most robust thing in the whole world. Like, it gets kitchen scraps every single day. You see how enormous the trunk is. And I've always debated on whether I should take this out, but Preston and I noticed that we have got some tiny fruit. Now, it seems to me with fruit trees, you're supposed to actually like remove some so that the plant puts energy into the right, like into 100 fruit instead of having 1,000 tiny ones. I'm not sure I'm gonna go to that effort, but
Well,
I'm not an expert peach grower, you know. I'm an ornamentals grower at heart.
And this peach was originally thought to come out, but you know, I think it's worth tasting the fruit first before it comes out. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So there's one good thing. The Prunus mumes, I prefer when they don't set 10,000 fruits, but I'm excited that the peach has. Well, Preston, we're losing light.
Yeah.
But I am so glad that you were here tonight to get to share the garden.
Thank you, Brie.
A real live visitor. It's so exciting. And I'm just really excited to put your thoughts into action.
Oh, well, I appreciate you letting me come in. I know it's difficult when you have like spaces that are yours or trees that you've grown a long time. I do believe that you need like a referee to come in and just say, you know, that limb's got to go to achieve that result. You just need, yeah, it's hard to garden solo because there's no editor.
It's the truth. This is why you hire a professional, you guys. It is, I'm emotionally connected to everything in this garden.
Yeah, of course.
And so I do need assurance from other plant experts, you know.
That it'll be okay.
Yeah, that my
it'll be an
edits will be
improvement.
okay, yeah.
Right.
Well, thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tour as much as I enjoyed making it tonight. And I hope y'all have a great start of the week. Thanks for watching.